Running Sentences presents Work, Work, and More Work. Part 9. Difficult Problems. Things at the company feel like they're unraveling at a rapid pace. Work on this project to figure out company morale continues on with its endless nothingness. This story was written and narrated by Michael Hunray. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on and etc. is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Hunray. All rights reserved. In a rare sort of event, Lindsay, Jess, and Bruno all arrived for the morning's work at the same time in the lobby. The three stepped through the front door and looked at one another. "I heard you had an idea you thought highly of, Lindsay?" Bruno asked. "Yes, we get the workers to admit what changes need to be made to their departments, and then we can submit those to the higher-ups." "And you think that will win anyone over?" "I have no idea, Jess, but it's worth some sort of shot, right?" "Well, I guess, yeah," Jess responded rather doubtfully. Bruno cast a doubtful look towards Lindsay, as Jess was right that not everyone's simply going to go along with this concept. Where are you starting with? Or rather, I guess, which departments are you hoisting this idea onto? And did they have a choice in the matter?" "The cleaning department is helping out," Lindsay said to Bruno. "They agreed?" "To tell us what changes they want to make to their department? Yes, both to save money and improve working conditions. That's all I and we have asked of them, to tell us what is wrong with their department. I meant to a few other places as well, but we're waiting to hear back from them." "And the bosses are going to accept this, Lindsay?" She shrugged at this, as that wasn't a sure thing, but the small fixes to show that we're listening to the workers and can change things. I'm not about to ask the same sweeping changes that you are, Jess. But the bosses, don't want to spend money. Well, I'm sure they will see savings to be made by these changes, and will at least get them to listen." Now standing at the elevators, the three got on. Settling into their office of a meeting room, all three sat down. There was nothing to do but stare at the whiteboards and fact sheets, which didn't sound appealing at the moment to Jess. The wait was on to see if Lindsay's efforts had amounted to anything, or if any of the departments would respond. But that could take who knew how long, and Jess still had something that was bothering him. "Bruno, you know Mikhail, right?" "Well, he's the boss that I've worked with before, and as have you, Jess." "And you, Lindsay?" "I've never had the pleasure of leaving my department before this fiasco, but I sort of know him. I mean, we've met." "Why are you asking, Jess?" "Well, he talked to me the other day about starting anew or getting the money to improve this company. Either or. I'm not sure he can really do either of those, but he was offering me a job, I guess. He was offering them to me, this chance, I guess." A silence fell as the two, Lindsay and Bruno, looked surprised and doubtful at him. "Why would he do that? Why would he go to you?" "I honestly have no idea, Bruno. He seemed set on the idea that since I had the idea that's helped make this company what it is, that I would jump at to help him once he bought everything up. I guess he thinks this is going to close and everything can be bought for a cheap price." "We're being bought out?" "I guess that could happen, but I don't know for sure what the plan is. He didn't really tell me." "If it is Mikhail, then he's definitely up to something, but I don't know if I would trust it." "Why not, Bruno?" "He's likely doing it to push buttons as the executives, to show that he still has some power. He doesn't want to be left out in the cold after all that's gone on." Jess was listening carefully, and looking between Bruno and Lindsay to get an idea of what they were thinking, but their faces were masks of confusion and curiosity, but not much else. Look at you, suddenly in the know of what and how politics work, Bruno. And here I think you didn't want to get involved in any of that. At least that's what you claimed. He was enjoying the moment of being able to tease Bruno, even though it did earn him a dirty look. I'm saying what makes sense to me. Well, this is all fine, but it is also another thing that we have to worry and look out for now, right? Yeah, I said no to him, but I don't think he listened to me very well. Well, we could report him. And no one would likely believe us, Bruno. Even if we told Barley, she'd merely shake her head and tell us to go deal with it. So we do nothing then? Lindsay asked. If we do nothing, we've been doing that for quite some time of it. I'm really bored of it, Bruno added. We all are, Bruno, but unless you have a suggestion for improving morale, we're stuck waiting for Lindsay's latest idea to pay off. There was a knock on the door, and the janitor poked his head through after opening it. If I could talk to Miss Lindsay for a moment. Yes, of course you can. She jumped up and hurried after the worker. Just outside the meeting room, Lindsay met the janitor, who looked worriedly at her. He was frowning and scratching the back of his head as she stopped beside him. Oh, is this about the request from your department? Yes, it is. Great, but you don't sound happy about this. The request was fine, but it's caused some issues we didn't think about. Oh, okay. Well, tell me about them then. We all agree on the fact that we can make changes that would improve things. The problem is, no one can come to an agreement on what changes are the most important to put forward in this little paper you want us to write. You can't come to agreement about any of it. Some of it, but not all of it, no. Higher-ups in cleaning want to have better mops and stuff, while the workers want to keep things simpler and have better working conditions. Well, that doesn't sound simple at all to me. Maybe not simple, but it is what is needed to improve things all around. Okay, perhaps if you submitted both lists, and then we will get someone else to decide for you. Wasn't the purpose of all of this to put the power and decisions back in the hands of the people who know how things work? Well, yes, you can continue to work on your list and refine them and figure out which are the things you really need. In the meantime, we get an idea of what your department needs, and we can get it better forwarded and understood by the big executives. Not so sure about that. We need to work together to make things better here. This is our chance and your chance to do so. Please trust us. The janitor frowned and took a step away, back towards the elevators. Well, I'll do my best, but I don't think things will go well. Yes, of course. Please just try. That's all I'm asking of you. With a nod, the janitor heads off, leaving Lindsay frowning and worrying more about things than ever before. Having been troubled and tumbling over the idea of why Mikhail would go to Jess of all people, Bruno had decided to confront the situation. He'd marched over to Mikhail's office, only to be redirected because he had been moved. He now found it on the first floor, hidden away off to the side from the rest of the offices here. Now he stood there in the front of the desk of the man and hadn't had everything unpacked from it yet. Mikhail was at his spot behind it, reading over a file. I want to know why. I'm guessing this is about Jess? Yes, it is. Because despite everything, that man actually has done something for this company, and I mean other than being called a prodigy for them, Bruno. I never accepted such a title from anyone here. You sort of did, Bruno, but that point doesn't matter much. It was the fact that everyone thought it when you came to this company, and it got parroted around. Yet you produced no great ideas or products. Well, neither has Jess. He actually had a concept that was almost working and made the company worth investing in. You have brought nothing, that's why I'm interested in him and not you, despite the fact that he apparently doesn't think the same thing. I am very useful, Mr. McHale, and have come up with many ideas that went nowhere because of the higher-ups, not me. I don't see how I am any different or less useful than Jess. Right, what was your last idea again? I wanted a device that would bring people closer by allowing them to communicate their feelings more clearly. I'm guessing this would be a sort of box of some sort, so how would it work? Well, I'm unsure at this time, but there were prototypes in the stage of development to give it a look for how it should look, as a sort of box thing. But yeah, it was a box thing. A long, tired sigh escaped from McHale, who gave Bruno a disappointed look to go along with it. That isn't enough for what I need. What do you need? What was Jess' project that's so good that you simply can't resist inviting him on some new project? What makes him so special? At first, McHale grunted and looked back at his paper of work. After a few moments, though, he turned to look back at Bruno. The response was clearly not enough, since Bruno was staying right where he was, and he wasn't going to leave. No, he was not going to let his former boss off that easily. It wasn't what the project was. It was that it was projected to make millions if it was built. And hasn't he told you something about it? I'm surprised. He used to crow about it to anyone who would listen. I wanted to know if you knew it. Pheromones and relaxation, a thing that everyone wants yet no one can achieve great success in because of so many scams. Yet you believe differently? This entire company was built on the belief in a few other concepts. It was a gold rush of ideas that we could use. Now we have a company plodding along, helping others produce their ideas without producing our own. It's ridiculous. Bruno found himself sneering at his former boss. My ideas were just as good as those. But yours were only ideas and a mere prototype at the moment. It's not really even a clear prototype or anything other than paperwork. It was an idea. As good as it may have been, it didn't garner interest of investors. That's part of the problem, and that's why we're stuck in the current money situation we're in. Well, that is not good enough for me, McHale. This is business. Either learn to deal with the hardships or quit. Doesn't matter to me which result you choose. I could take this all the way to the CEO. And she will tell you much the same, Bruno, though probably will also now officially fire me for what I've told you, but in the end, it doesn't matter much. Do what you will. Bruno felt his anger building up inside of him. It felt ready to boil over, yet somehow it wasn't coming out of it. This looks terrible for everyone. With those final words out that he managed to get out, he stormed his way over to the door and out of the room, slamming the door shut behind him. A good day's work of sitting around waiting for responses from fellow departments had left Lindsay exhausted. She was always on edge, waiting for that door to open to the meeting room and someone to come in and announce that they'd helped out and that they now had a sheet of answers for them. No one had come, and that left her sitting and waiting on the edge of her chair. The day had quickly somehow slipped by to quitting time, and so she marched all the way down to the lobby, shoulders slumped in frustration. You look sad. Lindsay nearly jumped all the way across the building lobby at the sound of Jess's voice. When her heart stopped trying to beat its way out of her chest, she swung about to face him. Don't sneak up on people. I didn't. I was walking beside you ever since you left the meeting room. Why? We're leaving for the night and headed to the same exit. You okay? Something is terribly off about you right now, and it is concerning to me. I'm fine. Good to hear, Lindsay. Now, question for you. Do you have a plan for getting out of this company? Why are you asking that, Jess? Well, it It just feels like everything around here is falling apart, and one should have a plan of escape. Do you have something new? Do you have some sort of plan? Lindsay asked, rather confused. No. Just all I got is a feeling of doom. Then why bring it up? You have no proof of anything, or are you just trying to rile me up? Just a feeling, a friendly warning. We should all be prepared for this to end at any second. Shaking her head, Lindsay stormed her way out to the door, with many worries worrying her mind. Bruno had found himself called to Barley's office early the next morning, and before he'd even arrived at the office. So here he stood, waiting for her to show up, while her secretary buzzed about the CEO's office, getting it ready for her. Let's see, I think I got everything. Yes, just about everything. Do you need anything, Mr. Bruno?
I would like to know when the CEO is coming in.
I can't say for sure, but it should be soon. There are reports of really bad traffic incident clogging everything up, so who knows? Then I can leave until she comes. I don't see what me standing around here waiting achieves. No, I don't think you can now. Our orders were for you to be here when she was here, when she got here.
Well, she isn't here, though, Miss Secretary.
The secretary keeps buzzing about the room, not paying any attention to his words, and not even offering him a seat to sit down on and wait in. He was standing about for a good 10 minutes more before the door opened, and in breezed Miss Barley. Ah, good. You are here, Mr. Bruno. And have been waiting for you for a while. What's going on? There has been a change in plans. Well, that's not surprising. He shuffled from foot to foot, waiting for this axe to drop. What do you want from my team now, or are we all being dismissed from the project? The secretary annoyingly continued to buzz about the office with her duster in hand, keeping it clean. She even walked up to his face and gave it a pass with the duster. He stepped back, scowling at her, but that was ignored. Your team is actually expanding. What now? He replied, confused by what Miss Barley was saying. You have 3 new members waiting for you in the meeting room. Go see to them and bring them up to speed. Jess sat in his usual spot in the meeting room, staring at the 3 new people. They'd taken up whatever seats they could light and were busy working away with ideas for improving morale, all without talking to him or Lindsay, who was shuffling papers to make it look like she was working. Forgive me for this and asking again, but who brought you into this project? That would be the CEO, sir. As we said, we were hired by her directly, or we were hired, I think, by the board, maybe it's the CEO. We are an outside firm that specializes in these sorts of things. You do everything wrong, by the way. The last bit didn't bother Jess, but the fact that the company said they had no money and were now hiring outside contractors, that did not sit right with him. That's great, but you shouldn't dismiss anyone's work. Don't like your work being challenged, Jess? That isn't it, Lindsay. My fear is that they've not taken the time to get to know the staff and us yet. They don't know what will and won't work based on our board of information. Excuse me, but we have taken all considerations into consideration. That is our job. Yeah, don't question us. Just looked to the 2 ladies and shook his head. Isn't that what this is all about, though? Questioning things to see where and when they can be improved? Without those questions, what do we have? He then looked further to the 2 ladies who had introduced themselves as Jenna and Pearl, who were on either side of Marco, who had also introduced himself, and they were now moving over towards that whiteboard. The 3 were offering nothing but scowls towards him. You can leave if you're not willing to help us. I would love to, Marco. It is Marco, right? Anyway, until some matters get sorted out, I cannot leave this project or this company. I've been told and ordered that. I feel like we should really make sure that they know what they're dealing and getting into. Just tell them about how things are here. Lindsay's prodding made Jess look over to her in curiosity. It didn't matter why she was trying to inform this group, just a weird thing to do after so much effort that she'd put into her plan. Well, I guess I could do that, but they already said they know it all, so me telling them things isn't going to do much, is it? True. So, maybe we should ask them, what do you three know? Lindsay then asked. That this company needs to be reorganized to better suit its needs. Yes, as Pearl says, and to shake things up from the ground on up. Isn't it supposed to be shaken from the top down, Miss Jenna? Not according to our orders, she replied to Jess. The door slammed open, and in hurried Bruno, wide-eyed and surprised, and looking over the whole thing. He was slightly out of breath as he entered, and looked to be struggling a bit as the door shut itself from being slammed open so hard. Is this, Bruno stuttered out. This is the new group of hires, Lindsay said helpfully. They're here to take over, though. What, Lindsay? Bruno asked, his voice breaking. They're an outside organization who does this sort of thing, Bruno. What? Just explain better. Yes, of course. This is Pearl, Jenna, and Marco, who claim that they'll be taking over this whole magic operation of making things better here. Be forewarned, though, that means improving things for the higher-ups, more so than the lower people. Bruno cast a glance towards Jess and Lindsay as they said this, which they offered a bit of a shrug in return. Jess was more than happy to now have this be someone else's problem. It wasn't going to go away, but it would certainly be fun to watch the whole thing melt down from the top down. I see. And who of you three happens to be the one in charge? Can you tell me that? Pearl raised her hand. Great. Let us talk in the hallway for a moment, shall we? Boss to boss. There was a nod from her, and the two strolled out the door. Bruno made sure the meeting room door was shut tightly before he turned to this prim and proper-looking person. He wasn't sure exactly what to say and figured blowing up at her wasn't going to get him anywhere, so he took this moment to meet her eyes. If you're going to complain that I've been named boss, you should save your breath. No, I wasn't going to do that. I was going to say, we are working on 2 different projects. There is no need for you to dismiss our work. She paused, as she was about to say something, seemingly thrown out of the loop by his comment. I'm sorry, what? You're working for the higher-ups. My team is working for the employees. 2 different things, morale-wise. Oh, you think so? I know so, miss. And since you aren't technically working with us, you cannot use the information from our side on your job. And why not? She demanded to know. They are trade secrets that cannot be worked on by outsiders, and they provide context for a greater situation within this company that is tentative at best and cannot leave these offices. If you ask me, that information does help us better deal with this situation and all of the context of this company, so we do need access to it, Pearl replied. You'd think that, but you wouldn't be right, Miss Pearl. Things are complicated, as I'm sure you are aware with your own business operation. Nothing is simple nor easy. Now, if you don't mind, we will be dividing up the meeting room, since I get the impression you won't be leaving. Feeling like he'd done some small good for himself, maybe someone. He wasn't entirely sure what he or who he'd done good for, but it felt good to be able to walk away with his head held high. The division of the meeting room actually hadn't gone well at all, but by the afternoon it was mostly done. Lindsay had needed a break from the bickering going on, and so she went to a nearby break room to get away from it all. Unfortunately for her, she'd picked up a follower along the way in Jenna, who was studying everything she did. Why are you following me, Miss Jenna? To find out what's going on in the company. You said we didn't know what was going on, and who better to know from the people that do know? It took a moment for Lindsay's mind to catch up to that tongue twister of a phrase, then scowling at it, she finally sorted out what she wanted to say. It would be better to go do searches for yourself. Not really, no. Outsiders never get the information they're seeking when it comes to companies like these. Well, it sucks to be you, then. All I'm going to do is take a break from the noise. Feel free to poke around and look at things in here, though from my perspective, you'd be better off going to one of the executive break rooms. They, from what I've heard, actually have snacks and people to talk to. Jenna nodded along and wrote all of that down on a paper on her clipboard that she was carrying. Your advice is noted. You really should go check things out. You don't need me and can find out more on your own. Jenna, though, was not paying attention to her, though, writing these things down onto her clipboard and then just moving out of the room. Left alone, Lindsay found a chair and curled up with a mug of coffee and let out a long sigh. Not wanting to stick around that meeting room, Bruno had sought some solace and potential gain elsewhere. There are always people you could talk to, and they might listen, or they might not. He found himself right back where he was not too long ago, in the hallway right in front of Mikhail's office, and the man wore a sour expression on his face from seeing him in this hallway. Why are you hanging out here? Don't you have people to be talking to about your work? I'm trying to get away from those that got hired. What do you mean? Why are you running away from Jess and Lindsay? Not them. The new hires that Miss Barley brought on. Mikhail gave him an odd, very concentrated, concerned look that was trying to read him and what he was saying. Out of instinct, Bruno actually found himself taking a step back to get a little room. She hired people? Yes, hired an outside firm to look at things and make the higher-ups feel good about themselves, and the morale, I guess. When did this happen? Recently, Mr. Mikhail. She told me this morning that they're already here and working around the place. I think one of them followed Lindsay off to somewhere, but, this place can be a maze at times. No, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, fine. They're around and doing whatever they're doing. Why do you care all of a sudden? As you know, the company is spending money it potentially doesn't have. You don't think that is interesting? I mean, I guess you never did show much interest in the politics of office work, but still, you're not a good liar, so you're here pushing buttons. I don't play games that I cannot win, Bruno said. Well, yes, but there's always a winner and a loser. It's simply a matter of having the right information and knowing where to apply it, like those workers. That is good information to play a game with. Well, the loser is always the workers, from what I can tell. As for the new outsiders, they're working to improve things for the higher-ups. But not for the shareholders. No, Bruno, not for the shareholders. Okay, sir. Mikhail, with a big grin, came over and patted Bruno on the shoulder as he walked past. You've done a great service for the company today. Maybe I will reconsider bringing you on to the new one. As Mikhail walked past, Bruno smiled to himself, figuring maybe office politics weren't that bad, but at the same time, they were that fucking bad. It was time to call it a day, and Jess wanted to leave, except that Pearl and Marco were sitting across from him and wouldn't let him leave. They'd spent a good portion of this afternoon into this evening, peppering him with questions and not letting him simply answer. No one else was around, so he had gotten this treatment for sitting down after lunch. What's it like working here? Average at best, Miss Pearl. Things to improve? Working conditions, Mr. Marco? Listen, I've had enough of this for the day. No, sir, you have not. We get a say in that. No, you don't, Miss Pearl. My time officially ended 10 minutes ago. I'm going to go ahead and guess that the higher-ups aren't willing to pay for overtime for your little questions.
Oh, I think they will.
Jess rose from his seat, shaking his head at Pearl's comment, and getting away from the meeting room table and dusting himself off. He had enough of this, and all of the stuff that had been going on around here lately and in the past, and just in general. It was all pure madness, and all his efforts kept getting shot down. Why put up with it? Good for them, then. I don't have to take overtime, and you have no power to make me. I was merely being nice before, and now I'm not being. Fuck off, all of you. You could get fired for not listening to our orders. That would be fun to see, Mr. Marco. I've tried quitting, and they've tried firing me. Neither has worked, for absolutely stupid reasons and contracts. I wish they had worked, but they didn't. So threaten me all you want. It won't lead anywhere.
We are the ultimate source here now. The CEO plus the contracts come down to all of us. So any bad manners by you will definitely get you fired.
Jess paused for a second, looking at the two.
It hit him that they might not be just what they were claiming to be.
Maybe a little bit more in the final chopping block to cutting everything in this whole company to ribbons was their sort of thing, and now they were just getting around to admitting it. You're not actually here for Belt Morale, are you? The two offered plastic, fake-looking grins to him that said not much, but gave him a good hint.
Oh, we're here to keep morale happy, sir.
It just depends on whose morale we're here for. As we told you, we want what the higher-ups of the company want, and we will seek ways to get it.
Marco barked at him.
So, sit down and listen to us, Mr. Jess. He shook his head at
Marco and Pearl.
No, thank you. Do whatever you want. I already know why you're really here, and it is only a matter of time before morale and people starts disappearing completely from this company. With that said, he rushed to get out of there. End of part 9 of Work, Work, and More Work. Thank you for listening.